Welcome back, guys, to the Great Ace Attorney Adventures, where last episode we were introduced properly to the inventor Iris Wilson, who seemed a real jack of all trades at the age of 10, being the author of Sholmes' exploits in Rats magazine, a doctor of medicine, and a great detective, as her deduction proved to be perfect in every way. We learned from her that Hurley was investigating our defendant's lodgings, so headed back to the crime scene to impart a stipend to Gregson at Iris's behest to learn more information. We then entered the home owned by Mr Garrideb and now talk to him and his maid about the case before investigating more ourselves. Let's ask about the shady lodger, Mr. Natsume, or at least what the maid feels about it. Have you noticed anything else at all about your lodger, Mr. Natsume? Oh my word, yes. The man was shadier than an orchard. Could you elaborate? Well, take the man's room. Absolutely stuffed full of books it is. More than anyone could ever read. And he never so much as passes the time of day with another living soul. I haven't seen a single visitor call. He just trots off the old bookshop every single day. Comes back at 5 to light the gas fire. And the funny little man is up long past the time everyone else in the house has gone to bed too. Oh, I see. The gentleman on the ground floor goes to bed at around 9 each night. But I've never known that Japanese fellow to retire any earlier than 2 in the morning. Ah. Could you clarify something, I wonder? What, pray? How do you know so much about Mr. Natsume's routine? Oh. I'd understood that neither of the lodgers live on this floor of the house. Is that correct? That's right, yes, they're both below us on the first floor and street level. Then how is it that you know so much about the lives of your lodgers? The precise times that they come back in the evening, for example, even the times they go to bed.
Ah! Good grief, Joan, be more careful, woman.
Oh my goodness, sir. I'm terribly sorry, sir. Something doesn't add up here. The incident 2 days ago. It seems that the incident took place at around 5 in the evening. Did you happen to look out of the window at around that time?
The window?
Yes, we noticed that the window over there looks out over Briar Road. The incident took place on the pavement just on the far side of the street. Was there anyone suspicious loitering nearby?
5 o'clock is dinner time in the Garrideb household, so I'm afraid I don't remember seeing anything. How about you, Joan?
No, sir. It would have been dusk outside already at that hour. And with the fog as well, I should think it would have been quite impossible to see the other side of the road.
Oh, I see.
Did you notice anything else out of the ordinary then?
Such as?
Anything at all, even if it seems unrelated. Yes? Was there something then?
Well, it's nothing particularly significant, but at around that sort of time in here, there... Ah! For the love of God, Joan, watch what you're doing!
Oh, dearie me, what have I done? I'm awfully sorry, sir.
Do be more careful, woman.
Of course, sir. If I may, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, yes?
I have an exceedingly good memory, and as far as I remember, nothing of any significance took place here at that hour. Nothing at all.
Oh, really?
Mr. Garrideb? The way you were talking before, it sounded rather like there might have been.
Oh, well, as I was saying, it was just a trifling matter, really, and nothing of... Ah! Joe, dash it all! What is the matter with you, woman?
Begging your pardon, sir. Nothing happened.
Oh, yes, quite. Nothing happened. We sat down to a quite uneventful meal, Joan.
That's right, Mr. Garrideb.
What is the matter with these two?
It sounds like something happened here in this room on the evening of the incident, but what? I wish I knew.
Mr. Natsume's room. Is it something that made everything go askew?
Could you tell us which floor Mr. Natsume's room is on?
Why, certainly. Just below us on the first floor.
And Mr. Sholmes is investigating there, even as we speak.
Yes, told me that Nuts' name had asked him to look into the matter, so I gave him the key.
Mr. Natsume has engaged Mr. Sholmes' services.
That's a blatant lie.
Would it be alright if we also had a look around, in Mr. Natsume's room, I mean?
I don't see why not. It's just down one flight of stairs.
Who knows if we'll find anything that could help us with the case, but we have to try. We need all the clues we can lay our hands on, shall we? Yes, and while we're there, we can speak with Mr. Sholmes again. Perhaps he'll be able to tell us more.
I mean, I'm sure this room will be able to tell you more. Like, for example, there's a candle that has fallen down and it's burnt this rug. Something happened in here. I guess I'll look at that.
Look at that enormous screen. It must have been put there deliberately, surely.
Yes, it certainly seems like someone's trying to hide something from view. To be honest, I thought the Sholmes was behind that.
What could be behind it, I wonder? I'm gonna have a very quick look. Just a little peek.
Maybe let's not, Mr. Sato. I think the maid is going to head us off with a cup of tea. No looking that way, then. Look at this crockery on display here. It's rather unusual, isn't it?
Oh my, a genuine London dresser. Isn't it delightful? Although the shelves seem to be broken and the crockery is... Oh dear, it's in pieces.
It really is. The word cracked wouldn't do that chinaware justice.
Ah, I wonder. Perhaps the cannon was fired at it.
Yes, probably something like that. But let's not delve too deeply here. Wait, the cannon went off? That would actually explain a lot.
This window looks out over Bria Road, where the young woman was attacked.
Oh yes, I can make out the policeman on the far side of the road investigating the crime scene.
Glass is rather murky, isn't it? You can't see very clearly.
They're the two witnesses, aren't they?
Does this thing open at all, I wonder? I shouldn't underestimate the bitterness of a London winter, sir. Sorry? As soon as you open that window, the tea will freeze in the pot. No Londoner would go opening windows at dusk in the middle of winter, I assure you.
It seems very unlikely that these two would have been anything or seen anything of the incident then. Yeah, really. Yeah, sure. I mean, you can't open a window. Well, you can't see through the window that's not that horribly fogged up. That's a full-size cannon! What's it doing in here? And does it mess with the structure of the building at all, like floorboards? That's a heavy thing.
Oh my, it's real! I thought it might be a replica.
That old thing? Ah, that's little more than a toy. Sorry. The army was selling it off when I retired, so I decided to give it a new home. Never know when the enemy might attack next. Jolly useful to have a cannon about the house. Really? It isn't overkill? Be prepared, I always say. You never know what this twisted world is going to throw at you next, boy.
Do you think there may be trouble brewing, Mr. Garrideb?
Always is. Take Joan here. Never fails to have a clean apron in reserve. Dries them over the barrel, you see. They dry very well on the cannon there, Joan tells me. Which rather proves my point, I feel. It's been reduced to a drying rack. No wonder the huge cannon looks like it's hanging its head in shame. Poor thing, poor thing. Right, well, there's still more to examine in this room, but something tells me I'm going to come back here to examine stuff in the future anyway. You know what I mean? So let's go down a floor and investigate more when we come back up. Also, the maid, occupied by the landlord, Mr. Garrideb, and his wife. Oh, really then? Joan. Mr. Natsume's room. Okay, where is he? On the ceiling? What? Just look at this place! And smell it. It's so musty in here, it would be. I suppose it's the mountains of old books that are responsible for that. I mean, it doesn't really look great anyway.
I don't think I've ever seen so many books in all my life.
No, me neither.
It's so dark in here too. Is that the window over there?
Well, it was the window, I think, yes, once upon a time.
But for some reason it's been closed up with bricks and mortar. So this is where Mr. Natsume lives. By the way, I haven't spotted Mr. Sholmes anywhere, have you? No, that's true, but according to what Mr. Garrideb told us, the great detective should be around here somewhere investigating.
I want to check out the roof. He's buying these books for definites. What do you reckon? Well, I'm going to check the cat. Yes! Complete results.
Meow. Where are you going? Oh my, what an adorable little cat! Perhaps he's looking after all the books while his master is away.
I don't know about that. He disappeared into that pile of books as quick as a flash. It was a tricolour Mickey, wasn't it? Do they even have that sort of cat here in Great Britain?
Perhaps Mr. Natsume brought the little creature with him from Japan.
That's made me feel homesick now.
Already? We've only been in the country for 2 days.
Bring the cat back!
Look at all those books stacked up there. They almost reach the ceiling. They're all works of English literature, and they all smell so musty.
This volume of books to hand, you'd never be short of reading material, would you?
No, what a dreamy idea.
A bad dream, maybe. For me, at least. Mind you, I don't imagine the book that's at the bottom of the pile now will ever be read again.
Ah, so reading is an experience that comes but once in a lifetime. Just as the tea ceremony teaches us.
I certainly didn't expect the conversation to turn down the path of a tea ceremony's philosophy.
Oh look, it's a beckoning cat from home!
It's a bit big and bulky, isn't it? Surely Mr. Natsume didn't bring that Maneki Neko all the way from Japan with him. Maneki Neko.
I hardly think you're in a position to comment, Mr. Naruhodo.
Are you forgetting the enormous Daruma doll that you brought in your luggage? Well, it can be dangerous travelling aboard, so I wanted a lucky charm.
Well, I imagine Mr. Natsume wanted the same, and this cat is sure to beckon good luck to him.
It's not doing a very good job so far, is it?
You mustn't say such things.
I didn't say a word. Why are my eyes such a giveaway? I feel like, first of all, we should look for a certain someone, right? He's in here, right? Not in here. Can I look around any further? No?
That desk seems to be wedged into a crevasse between the mountains of books on either side. I suppose Mr. Natsume would sit there and read while stroking his cat. But surrounded on all sides by these towering old tomes, surely he dreamt of books every night as well. Yes, he must have done. Mustn't he?
Oh, what's this?
It's a receipt from a second-hand bookshop. Your books.
Oh yes, Mr. Natsume's name is on it. Look, and the date of purchase. 2 days ago at 4:45 p.m.
That's the day of the incident. That's just a short while before he was embroiled in the terrible attack. He must have been on his way back from buying some old books.
Okay, we got a second-hand book receipt. Ah, well, you weren't there 2 seconds ago, sir.
Ah, look, Mr. Naruhodo.
Aha, there he is. Where did he appear from?
He seems to be engrossed in the pages of an old book. I hope he won't mind if we disturb him. Hello, Mr. Sholmes.
Ah, you two, good day. Now, let me see. Where was it that we met?
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, we were together on the SS Burlier.
Yes, of course, the Burlier. Let me see. What happened on that voyage? It was Kazuma Ozogi. He died, tragically, but you were a great help to us. Ah, yes, but of course, the case of Mr. Ozogi. It was the one with the snake, wasn't it?
Oh.
Well, you seem to remember something of it, at least.
What an honor to be remembered vaguely by the great Herlock Sholmes. This is Mr...
Oh, no, my dear madame, hold your tongue. I pride myself on my superior powers of recollection. Your names are safely recorded in my brain attic. Miss Naruhodo and Mr. Susato. Try the other way around, Mr. Sholmes. I lose the first round. In truth, I had hoped to invite you both to my Baker Street suite the day we arrived in London. But some Scotland Yarders ambushed me at the railway station and whisked me away to a crime scene. It was an entirely trivial case, of course. I solved the matter in no more than 30 minutes. So they apprehended Saseki-san in that short an amount of time. I'm afraid the pursuance of a new case has dulled my recollection of my past involvements a little. A little? It is a mistake to think that one's brain attic has elastic walls and can extend to any extent. I do my best to forget useless facts, lest they should elbow out the useful ones. Yes, those are my own words of inimitable wisdom. You know, from an adventure entitled A Study in Scarlet. Please, there's no need to quote yourself. I don't always remember my pearls of wisdom, but fortunately my associate pens them beautifully. He means Iris, I suppose.
Mr. Sholmes, we have some extremely important questions to ask you about the trivial case you just mentioned.
Goodness, what an earnest expression. My dear madame, I should be only too pleased, and this murky room is an apt place to discuss the murky case. Okay then, let's converse. About Mr. Natsume's arrest.
We know this to be the lodgings of a Japanese foreign student by the name of Soseki Natsume. It seems that you assisted in his arrest, Mr. Sholmes, for the stabbing of a young woman outside here on Brie Road.
Oh, Natsume. Yes, I believe it was a name rather along those lines.
Mr. Natsume denies it. Was it really justifiable to arrest him on so little?
I'm sorry, Mr. Sato, but I have not the slightest idea what you mean.
What?
I can't believe he was looking Susato-san squarely in the eye while feigning ignorance. I assure you I am not merely feigning ignorance. It would appear as if the pair of you are under some misapprehension.
Oh? How?
I assure you I have no recollection of accusing your stupid compatriot of the crime. That doesn't make sense. The good detective of Scotland Yard made the following request to me, and I quote verbatim. We need you to ascertain the identity and whereabouts of a man seen fleeing the crime scene.
Oh, a man
seen fleeing. There were a number of books scattered on the pavement of the scene. From the book plates, I was quickly able to determine the bookshop from which they had been purchased. On speaking with the proprietor, I was immediately led to this address. Elementary, wouldn't you say? I believe there's a receipt around here somewhere from the establishment in question.
So you don't think Mr. Natsume is the culprit then?
That I could not tell you. But it was aggravating my faculties, hence why I returned here. However, this place is such a trove of fascinating books, I found myself quite lost in bibliophily. Do not be deceived into perceiving that I am a man of leisure. No, no, no.
Oh dear.
Mr. Garrideb, the landlord. Tell me, have you encountered the landlord of these lodgings?
Yes, Mr. Garrideb, a retired military man. It was the first time I've ever met a soldier from the great British institution that is the services. And it was the first time I've ever met a maid from the great British institution that is service.
I didn't think it was that funny. I do apologize. As you may well be aware, many households in London employ a maid.
Yes, I read as much in my Great Britain primer.
And so, conversely, whether or not a household employs a maid has come to betoken the social standing of those dwelling therein.
Betoken their social standing?
Sorry. But simply, my dear fellow, those who employ at least a single maid are considered middle class. Those who do not are beneath that. In the upper echelons of society, of course, households employ enough staff to constitute a large family.
Goodness, how extraordinary.
As you can appreciate, for those on the precarious boundary between the middle and lower classes, being able to afford just one maid is of the first importance. I had no idea. And it is for precisely that reason that I find great stimulation in the situation upstairs. Specifically in the retired army veteran, Mr. John Garrideb. Oh? Affable as he is, the fellow is hiding something. Whether or not it imposes on the circumstances of this case, I am as yet unable to ascertain. I'm thoroughly lost on what he means to say. The dingy room that we now stand in. This room is thoroughly suffocating for the soul, my dear fellow. I assure you, any man whose lot is to dwell in a place such as this will stab someone sooner or later. Oh, okay.
Mr. Natsume has stabbed no one.
But sooner or later, as I said.
I don't believe that's the issue here.
About this dark little room, Mr. Sholmes. Why is there no longer a window? Do you have an idea? No window? Well, I mean, I can clearly see that there is a window of sorts.
But it's been completely blocked with bricks.
Ah, I see. The answer to that question is quite simple. Window tax.
Window tax? What is that? Surely not a tax on windows.
Precisely that.
Oh my goodness!
Until relatively recently, a tax was levied on households in this country by the number of their windows. Those of lesser means, having inherited a sizable and costly family home, perhaps rapidly closed windows up. While the rich opened windows here, there, and everywhere, in an effort to curry favor with those in power by furnishing them with large sums of tax money.
How awful and unjust, forcing people to live in rooms devoid of light.
Indeed, disease was rife as a result. So some 40 years ago or thereabouts, the window tax was abolished. But its legacy remains, as you can see, in squalid lodgings such as these, for example. I suppose Mr. Natsume's stipend for living here in London isn't very generous, perhaps. It would appear so. I've done a little digging and discovered that these lodgings were offered at an extraordinarily low price.
Because the room is so awful, I should think.
Apparently, Mr. Natsume only moved in here about 1 week ago. Yes, that's correct. However, I don't believe the low rent is explained by the shabby nature of the accommodation.
Oh?
Still, that is of little relevance here. A matter not worthy of further attention.
Are you sure? I'm curious now.
Well, I believe I've told you all I can now.
Thank you, Mr. Sholmes.
Ah, yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Was it not your intention to become a practitioner of law?
You remember that, did you?
Will you perhaps be offering your services in this very matter, I wonder? To the occupant of this room, Mr. Natsume, was it? I'm not sure. Not sure? On what grounds?
Well, I actually defended someone in court here only yesterday.
Really? Well then, I congratulate you, sir, on an ambition realized, and so promptly too.
The thing is, it's really made me question things. Am I right to believe in my clients? To trust in their innocence?
Yes, trust.
Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Natsume didn't do it, did he?
My dear fellow, I haven't the first idea.
Oh, but I thought that's why you were here. Didn't you come back to investigate?
Ah, yes, that was indeed my initial intention. But there are simply too many fascinating books here. I couldn't possibly ignore them.
Oh, I see.
Nevertheless, there are two facts that I can state quite unequivocally. The man who fled the scene of the crime 2 days ago was the Japanese occupant of this room, and there are witnesses who swear to having seen the same man commit the crime. That is all I can say. Ah, and one more thing.
Oh, what is it, Mr. Sholmes? Tell us.
I cannot say with any certainty whether or not it is of relevance to this case, but I'm quite sure
that the retired army man who owns this property is hiding something. Mr. Garrideb is... Mr. Sholmes said as much before, actually, didn't he? Anyway, at present, that is really all that plays on my mind in relation to this case. Mr. Naruhodo, as yet our investigations have uncovered nothing that could help establish Mr. Natsume's innocence. No, you're right. Perhaps it's time we probed a little deeper into Mr. Garrideb's secret. Just remember, I cannot be sure whether the landlord's secret will prove to be of relevance or not. But I wish you every success, of course, Mr. Naruhodo. You're not coming with me? A busy man indeed. He's gone back to his book in the corner of the room. Okay. He's just literally here. Excuse me, Mr. Sholmes? Yes, so true. To be or not to be? That is indeed the question, Mr. Naruhodo. To be or not to be brushed off? That is the question, and the answer is all too clear. Let's leave Mr. Sholmes in peace, shall we? Does seem to be enjoying himself. Guess I'll leave him be. Guess we can look at the window. Can't look at this up here. It's interesting. Was the window looked at before? It could definitely be looked at again. Could you even call this a window? I think so. It was a window at one time, after all. Although all that remains is the frame around some bricks now. So really, it's just a wall then, isn't it? Why would anyone deliberately brick it up like that? I'm afraid I have no idea what we just learned. Ah! Perhaps Mr. Natsume painted the brick design on it for a fit of whimsy. That's alarmingly feasible. Anyway, whatever the reason, the lack of ventilation in it makes the place very oppressive. It does. Imagine being cooped up in a room like this would be extremely trying. I imagine there'd be some fire issues. What is this behind here? This appears to be some sort of meter on the wall here. It looks very robust. I wonder what it's for. There's a slot for inserting coins here too. I believe that is a gas meter, Mr. Naruhodo. A gas meter? Yes, it seems there is piped gas in this district, which consumers pay for by putting coins in the meter. So, if we were to put a coin in the slot, that would be enough gas to use the lights in the gas fire for the whole night. So, if you're too poor to have a coin, you'd have to spend the night in the dark and freezing cold. That's right, as would a rich man who only carried crisp white notes. Ugh, London is a scary place. Do you know what? I have a weird recollection as a child that we actually had a meter like this. And that's like back in like the late 1980s, early 1990s. Until it was replaced with an actual like electric meter with electric key. I really think I had a meter more or less like this. Which is why it was drawing my attention. Like, oh my god, do I remember this correctly? That's a blast. Coin-fed meter in your own blooming home. Did I really have one? Questioning my own memory. Maybe I moved that out of my my upstairs attic. I guess that's how we'll put it. Back to Mr. Garrideb. Who's gone? Hello.
Ah, you pair again. Tell me, was the detective chap, I forget his name, still hard at work down there?
Mr. Herlock Sholmes?
Ah yes, rings a vague bell. All that detective business isn't really my thing, I'm afraid.
Well, Mr. Sholmes is in his element down there.
Jolly good show. I'll have a cup of tea, if you please, Joan. Now then, why don't you tell me what... Ah! For the umpteenth time, woman, will you watch what you're bally well doing?
I shall be serving dinner shortly, sir.
Yes, of course. Rightfully rude of me, but I'm afraid I shall have to ask you to take your leave if you'd be so kind.
Oh, yes, of course. We are deeply grateful for your assistance.
Not at all, not at all. Don't get much chance to talk with young foreigners like yourself. It's been a pleasure. Best of luck and all that. Perhaps you could see yourselves out.
According to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Garrideb is hiding something. And since no other avenues of investigation seem open to us at the moment, Perhaps we should do some digging. Like, is he a master of stealth? I'm not exactly quite sure, but all of a sudden he not just gets past us, who are presumably at the entrance to the room at the door, but them as well, to end up in the window somehow, looking down on yonder Briar Road. So, with Herlock Sholmes present, I guess he does want to get in on finding the secret out, and we will find out that secret next time, maybe with a dance of sorts. A dance of deduction. One that may lead to seduction. And may uncover this corruption. I'll stop now. I'll see you next time. For more. Bye-bye.